here from Miniature Battles. We are looking at the Far Side Enclaves. And the paint scheme for them, including Commander Farside. Took a little bit of pre-background on this. We pre-sprayed about 20 models, crisis battle suits, and then used the Siphon Posh airbrush that we've reviewed earlier in a previous video, and went on ahead and sprayed a whole bunch of them at the same time. So you're going to get a little bit of this one, and you're going to get a little bit of Far Side in this video. This is going to be a 2 to 3 part video. I don't know yet, but it looks like it's going to be at least 3 parts. Sprayed it with the Siphon one. We did use an entire pot of paint on 20 models, so as we said previously in our previous videos, make sure that you've got your pocketbook with you. Otherwise, I would try and spray it with a gravity-fed system. And something else to remember too, you don't have to stay in the Citadel line of paints. There are paints that are available out there that are airbrush ready. With the Citadel line, you have to thin them down a little bit. Once that's dried and you've sprayed it, we're going over it with the bad black or the black wash or any black wash that you can find, just to get them all in the crannies and the nooks and the lines, so that you have the detail, the shadowing once we start painting over it again, and you'll be able to see all the shadowing as we go along. And just over both models, it took us about 30 minutes to do one model from start to finish. So we're looking at an hour between the two of these when we did them when we originally cut the film for this. So as I said, I want to do all the nooks and crannies on them, basically on all the armor that's on the model, including the missile launchers on top there, and then Farside's got his weapons that he uses as a shield and stuff like that. So you'll want to get it all on there. You'll notice up on top there where the top of the brush is right now, it's a little bit thick, but you can always pull it off. If you dry the brush a little bit, you can always pull it off and move it around a little bit to make it easier for yourself to get the wash into all the spots that you want without using so much. When we switch to this model, which is the Far Side model, you can see there's a lot more surface areas that are going to have a lot of lines in them that you're going to need to use for this. He's also got but they look like vents on the top and on the back, and you'll see those get painted as well. You will find that this model takes a little bit of doing because there is a lot of detail. It is a fine cast resin model that Games Workshop puts out. But once you've gone over this, you got to wait about 15 minutes for the wash to get fully dry if you're going to keep going. And that's part of what ate up our time, was the 15-minute mark for both of them. I waited actually about 10, but I would say go 15 just to be on the safe side, depending on, we had a really humid day when we did this, so it took a lot longer to dry than we had anticipated. But anyway, go through it and just once over it, and once you've got that done, you'll move into the paint. There was a red. We went back to Mephiston red after we completed this portion of it. After the models have dried, in order to cover up, because the model will get a lot darker for you. And when it gets a lot darker, it looks like that. So you'll need to go back over it with Mephiston red, or whatever red you choose, or whatever color you're doing. And you're almost better off doing this with as a dry brush technique to get that, because you'll get the shading better. But I had the brush just a little bit wet in certain spots, and I noticed that on this model, as well as the Crisis suit, there was a little bit of washout of the wash. You got red stuck back in there, and I didn't really want to go back and wash it again, so I lived with it at that point. The way that the red goes on, it really brightens the model back up, even though you've got the wash on there. And you will need to pay close attention to how much paint you're putting on the brush, because as you know, more paint, more money spent. Getting in the nooks there and just going back over everything that we had looked at from before. And if you'll notice, I washed out, I painted right over what I had washed in the previous. It was cut out of the video, but I painted right over it, and I was, well, I'm glad I cut that out of the video. And you'll notice I do it again over the shield here as the video progresses, and as we get into the other videos, you'll notice the shield got washed over a little bit because I used too much paint. So I would recommend doing a lot less paint than what I used for this, and the dry brushing technique. Same thing with the crisis suit, just wash, rinse, and repeat. Once you're finished with that, as you can see, we're going to any black, flat black that you can want to use for the legs, and then the vents on the back on the other model and the back of the model, and then you want to let that dry before you go back over it, because there is a couple of spots on the black on the far side model that you got to put gold on. We do gold in 2 spots in another video. We'll discuss it later, but both of them are basically, it's the same run for both of them, and it was a lot of fun to do. The first part here, it starts to get a little tedious, but at any rate, if you have any questions or any comments you'd like to make, please send us a contact email. If you're on the YouTube website, we'd appreciate you going to our website, which is miniaturebattles.com. This is Paul saying we'll see you on the next video when we will discuss the grays and the corn red.